Hello there. Good evening. Great day. Happy Sunday, fun day, everyone. Hello, new friends. Welcome to Behind the Pages. I am your guest host this evening, Tiffany Matthias, but known here in these healing streets as Phoenix. I am so excited to bring to you the season premiere of Behind the Pages. There is a wonderful woman who I will be introducing very shortly, who is actually the host of Behind the Pages. And that's just the very tippy top of the iceberg of who this phenomenal woman is. I am going to be bringing out the lovely Natima Sheree, the queen pen of Transparent Gem Inc., the brainchild, the beauty behind all things that are related to Transparent Gem Inc. and Cut and Clarity Media, which is bringing you this wonderful podcast this evening. Before we get started, I'm going to quickly introduce myself to you because there are some new faces, some new names in the space that I am not quite familiar with. I'm Tiffany, and I have known the Queen Pen since she was a little girl. Matter of fact, I knew her back when she was a skinny little thing, and she got handpicked to play Rosie in the cult classic. Um, I'm getting nervous here, right? But she is a phenomenal woman. She'll talk to you more about her time as Rosie. But before we get started any further, I see there are some people here. I want to acknowledge all of those who are joining us this evening. We'll be engaging with you. If you got a question for the Queen Pen, please, by all means, drop it in the chat. It might be one that I already have, or it might be one that I overlooked that she needs to be asked. So I'm going to read you a brief bio. I'm going to bring her out. All right. From the vibrant streets of New York City, where she graced the scenes as Rosie in the cult classic Fresh, she has evolved into this compelling powerhouse. Today, she embraces her most significant role, which is igniting the spark of greatness within others by profession. She is a talent executive at and strategic analysis for a tech company, but by heart, she is a literary influencer. I can't continue to say anything else about her except she also my little baby cousin too. So I'm gonna bring to the stage everyone Natima Sheree, the queen pin of TGI and Transparent Gem Inc.
Thank you, Cuzzo. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, and I cannot believe I am stumbling through this. Like we do this all the time. Why am I so nervous bringing you out?
Girl, I don't know. It be like that sometimes. It's that energy sometimes. It's totally fine. I am okay with
It's
it.
giving grace and space. That is the energy that I am channeling as I approach my double quarters, grace and space. It is what I want for myself. It is what I am extending to others. So since I butchered up and stumbled through your intro, can you please tell the people who you are?
Absolutely. I would love to. Hey, Gems. Hey, gents. First of all, welcome to the platform. We are so glad that you're with us tonight. I know it's a Sunday, there's games on. Y'all been at church, brunch, y'all tired. So I really appreciate your presence here with me tonight. We're not going to keep you long, but I did just want to celebrate the work that I've been able to do in these amazing journals that I'll be introducing. But as my big cousin, the Phoenix said, I am Natima Sheree, affectionately known as the Queen Pen of Transparent Gemming and the Diamond Writers. I am a narrative healing facilitator. I help women to heal from emotional trauma and pain through the conduit of writing. There is power in our narratives. And so that's what I help people to recognize. As she said, by profession, I work in the tech space, helping with talent strategy, creating strategies to attract talent. But by passion, I am a writer, a 7-time author, a mother of 2 amazing little girls that keep me on my toes. And yeah, so that's just a little bit about me. I love this space that I'm in. I love the work that I do. I believe it is not just my passion, but my purpose. I believe that God created me to do this work, and that's why it flows from me so easily and so freely. It's not forced. It truly does flow from me. So that's just a little bit about me.
Girl, thank you very much for all of that. And yes, you will notice if you follow Natima and I, we fangirl over each other all the time because she pours into me, I pour into her, and then we pour back out into the community. This is one of the ways that we believe healing happens. We are not in competition with another woman. We are barely in competition with ourselves. This is a healing community and collective, and that's what we want because we believe healed people heal people. And so it's spreading like wildfire. Um, so I want to get into the questions and the interview and really show the shift in dynamic of what people normally used to see in us when they pop in on Hustle and Shine, right? This is a totally different show. This is a totally different vibe, okay?
Mhm.
So I want you to tell us a little bit about what sparked the literary influencer in you. Do you remember when you fell in love with words?
Come on, brown sugar question. When did you fall in love with hip hop? Yes, I do remember. So funny enough, I want to say probably around second grade, I had to do my very first book report. And so my dad took my siblings and I to the library, and I had never seen so many books in one place in my life. I was like, what is this place? Like, how do you get this all the time? And I remember wanting to be there all the time, all day. And my dad was like, look, we got other things to do. Pick some books and let's roll. And then when I learned that I could get a card that allows me to take books home and read them at home and then keep them for a couple of days, I really got excited. What I loved most about words and literature is the storytelling, the transformative
Mm-hmm.
stories of others, being able to hear what people have experienced, what they dream of, what they feel, what they think, and then use that in a narrative that can inspire, edify, and encourage others. And I remember saying, I'm going to do that too. Like I was probably 7, 8 years old, and I was like, I am going to do this. I am going to do exactly what these people are doing here. And so that's what eventually evolved. Of course, in college, I was hustling papers. Come on, some of y'all graduated because of my papers. You're welcome. But yeah, I was hustling papers in college. Writing has always been a part of who I am, but it's because I was a reader first. I fell in love with reading and ingesting other people's stories and perspectives and understandings and all the things. And then eventually I was able to mature that into my own work, which is what I do now. So, yeah.
Yes, and so that actually leads into my second question, which is what was the defining moment when you realized you had a story to tell and you were confident enough to be like, "Yep, I'm taking this and I'm putting it out there for the world."
Man, that's a good question. I would say it was in high school. We had a paper due. We had to write a bio about ourselves in terms of who we want to become, not necessarily who
Mhm.
we are. And funny enough, I didn't mention any of the things that I had achieved at the time. By this time, by high school, I had been in the movie Fresh. I had played Rosie in that cult classic film Fresh. Shout out to Sean Nelson, who just dropped a new film on Tubi. I had done so many other things prior to this, yet that wasn't what I captured in my essay. And I remember people coming up to me after, like, I believed everything that story said. I believe you're going to achieve everything you wrote in your bio. And I knew then, like, okay, I can capture the room. I can captivate people with my words. I'm going to do this for real. And so that just kind of propelled me into this purpose driven pursuit of writing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So not only did you fall in love with words and then learned the power of words, and then you started to use that power for yourself,
Mhm.
you started igniting that fire and that passion within other women, myself included. Um, Tell us about that conversation you had with God that night when He told you that this is what you were called to do.
Yeah. And so, first of all, it's funny how we tell God what we want, right? And then God so lovingly redirects our path. He like says, "Nope, you're actually going to do this." So, I would say in my early 20s, I was married. I got married very, very young, and I remember telling my ex-husband, "I want to travel the world." Writing books and showing up at book signings and just being adored by people. This was the vision I had for my life. I didn't envision children. I didn't envision living in one city or state. I didn't plan to stay in the US. I had all of these dreams with writing. I still wanted to write. I still wanted to create. And it was In 2016, one of my good girlfriends asked me to co-write a book with her that would help women to heal.
Hmm.
It's called Mascara, Beat Face, Broken Soul. We were addressing how so many women cover their pain in makeup and body augmentation and hair and lashes and all the things. But there's a deeper desire to be whole behind all of that, facade and that veneer and mirage, if you will. And so I fell in love with that storyline. I said, let's do it, right? Let's write it. And so we wrote this book in like 2 weeks. I'm not even joking. Like we completely thrusted ourselves into these narratives. And through that, I recognized I was talking to myself. I was like,
Mm.
girl, you sitting here writing for other women talking to you. This is your story. You are broken, but very pretty. You are broken, yet you can beat your face to the gods. You are damaged on the inside. You don't
Wow.
believe who you are. You don't believe that God loves you. You don't believe that you are valuable and worthy of love. And so my own story transformed my thinking about myself and healing. And I said, you know what? I got to do this again. I need to do this work again. And so I launched Transparent Gem Inc. in 2017, which was the following year after the book release of Mascara. And I just started working with other women in their healing journey, all
Mhm.
while in my own. That's what's so dope. And I want to pause right there and encourage somebody that sometimes what you're called to, imposter syndrome will tell you you're not because you're still in the midst of it, but you can't lead people where you haven't been. So if you
Mhm.
yourself are not in the journey, how then can you help to steer and guide and encourage others on that same journey? You have to live it too. And so as I'm living this healing journey out, I'm walking this thing out. God is like, and help her. Go help her. Oh, you know what? Reach back and help her. Reach forward and help her. And I'm aiding women that I'm thinking are just fine, are very successful in their own right, doing big
Mhm.
things, all the while the little girl in them still hurt. The teenage girl in them still hurt. The divorced single mom in them was still hurting. And the Lord was like, and that's what you're supposed to do. And so it just kept evolving one layer on the next, one building block on the next. And everything that I needed to do it, he sent me, including you in 2020. And so it started in 2017. The journey started in 2017, but then it really started to, build and have momentum in 2020 when we launched the Diamond Riders.
Okay, so we have been in here now for about 15 minutes.
Hmm.
We done introduced you. We got a handful of people up in here. You are dropping some gems already. I need everybody who is in here to start tagging somebody. Y'all need to be sharing this live, letting them know that this is where they need to be. Even if they cooking their Sunday dinner right now, because I know, sometimes by 6 o'clock you're supposed to be sitting down to the table. But some of us more modern people, we still seasoning the chicken or whatever it is. But so share this.
Absolutely.
We still seasoning the chicken because we just told the kids this morning to take it out the fridge. So we need to stop, right? So
Right.
I need y'all to start sharing this. I want to start seeing these numbers go up of the people who are viewing us live. Of course, there will be a playback, but there is nothing like engaging with us now. So start dropping some names, start tagging. If you share this, say I shared because the queen always got something for the people who want to spread the love. All
Yes.
right. So while y'all do that, I'm gonna move forward in the conversation. So you've talked about mascara and the phenomenal job that you guys did in 2 weeks of putting that project together, and starting your boutique company, and then launching the Diamond Riders.
Yeah.
What is it like for you and dealing with all of these women and all of the energy that they bring, because you meet everybody exactly where they are. Like you just said, sometimes it's a little girl, sometimes it's a teenager, sometimes it's a grown woman, sometimes it's somebody in they crone phase and they just, whatever. But you have the capacity to mother all
Mhm.
of these women in their healing process. What do you do that?
It, whew, if it's not, if it's nothing else, it's consistent prayer. Um, my prayer life has increased so much having been called to this work. I mean, I used to pray before, right? But it would be cute prayers and, repeated prayers, things I heard other people say. Leading these women, and here's the thing I want to just kind of backpedal and say a lot of them don't even realize their own pain. Many of them
Mm-hmm.
raise their hand to be here because they recognize they have a need for something to be different or something to be cultivated for them. But I don't even think that they're always aware of exactly what they're carrying, and not just pain, but even promise. A lot of them are not familiar or have not yet been acquainted with the promise in them because of the pain in them. And so,
Mm-hmm.
what God has charged me to do is say, hey, look at her, examine her, pray for her, and then aid her. And the hardest thing is, naturally, I'm human too. I'm wrapped in flesh, right? My natural instinct is to judge a situation I don't understand or to form an opinion about what I don't understand. And so crucifying my flesh daily goes hand in hand with praying for these women, because you will not approach the throne of grace with boldness if you have reservations about what you're asking for. So, for example, if I think, well, Tiffany's dealing with a lot of that because she did that to herself, my prayers are not going to sound the same before God because of my own bias. And so I have to first constantly deal with myself. I have to constantly like die to self. Like, you can't go to God for her because your raggedy is carrying with it. So you got to deal with you before you can go to God for her. And that has been the hardest thing that I've ever done, is just
Mm-hmm.
looking at me, and not from a narcissistic, self-centric standpoint. Like social media is like, oh, it's all about you. No, I'm talking about it's all about God, and is he pleased with you? That standpoint is the
Mm-hmm.
hard part. But I like who I've become as a result. I like how I have evolved and emerged as a woman. My children benefit from this version of me, my coworkers, the diamonds, friend circles, because I am constantly before God, constantly in my word, and constantly praying for these women. And so to, just to move back to your question, the hardest thing about leading women, we're from different walks of life, we're different ages, we have different belief systems. Even though we all fall under the umbrella of Christ, we were all churched differently, right?
Mm.
Some of us grew up spiritual, some of us grew up Baptist, Pentecostal,
Mm-hmm.
non-denominational. And so even that creates a divide that we have to now break down those barriers, because my thinking is not your thinking, and your prayer life is not my prayer life, and the way you fast is not the way I've been taught to fast. And so you have to
Yeah.
start there and cultivating a space that says we can all be here, but let's find the absolute truth and share it. And so that's a work in itself, communicating. I don't talk to the Phoenix the way I talk to Ivory. Ivory, one of my diamonds, shout out to her. She's very gentle spirited, very meek,
Yes.
very gentle. I can't be New York raw with her, because that's not how she speaks to me. And so I
Mm-hmm.
can't reciprocate an energy that she didn't give. So I have to
Right.
literally find the softness, the feminine, the very gentle side of Tima. Like, hi, Ivory. Not like I talk to her like a child, but you know what I mean? Like much more soft. Whereas with you and Mel and others from Queens, I'm like, girl, no, I don't like that idea. That sounds crazy. I can't talk to everybody like that. So
Yeah.
again, doing that work on myself first to be able to give
Absolutely.
them what they need. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I hear some of your professional training and development coming through on that too. Let's talk about some of these books and some of these projects that you have put out into the world. So you told us about mascara, but
Mhm.
can you give the laundry list to the people of what it is that you have put into the literary space?
Yes, absolutely. So starting with mascara, I co-wrote that book with Tiffany Bethia. Shout out to Tiffany Bethia Enterprises on that one. Um, After that, we did Pretty Broken in 2020, released in 2021. That was our very first anthology, our being the Diamond Writers. We followed up that with our sophomore book, Beneath the Crown. Super impactful read. Y'all make sure y'all go get that. And then from there, look, golly, we got so many. Okay, and then some from Beneath the Crown. We did Valid Transparency. That was book
Mhm.
number 3. And then I did a project of my own. I had gone through a really hard breakup It really was like a life quake. It shook my world. It shook my understanding of love. And it caused me to go inward even deeper than I was already. And so I decided to create this like journal companion for people dealing with loss and or breakup, because I had never really healed from losing my younger sister. And so I'm dealing with that loss, and now I'm losing a relationship. The two was literally trying to take me up out of here. And so I literally think I died twice and came back to life. It was so
Mm-hmm.
bad. It was so bad. And so I wrote it's called Savage, and that's an acronym that I can't remember right now. Ain't that trifling? Ain't that raggedy? How you don't remember your own work? Y'all pray for me. But yeah, so I wrote Savage. That's out as well. And then after Savage, we came through with She Is. And She Is was like, look, the world keep telling us what we are going to define who she is. And that was
Mm-hmm.
this declaration project where these women, including yourself, were like, no, we're not accepting any more labels, any more, titles. We don't want any more of the stigmas. Don't give us no stereotypes. We are taking destiny. We are taking purpose. We're accepting our gifts, and we're moving forward. And so that was a really powerful book. And then we followed up right behind that with Audacity. We have the audacity to live free. I think what's important when you're doing a healing work, don't just keep showing people the pain of the brokenness.
Mm-hmm.
Show them what the healed version of that brokenness looks like. Show them the other side of it. And that's what I think Audacity did. Audacity was like, yeah, we've been through this, but can we tell you about a God that we serve that's bigger than all of it? And so that's what Audacity offers our readers. And then we're here to talk about my newest babies. My little
Mm-hmm.
my little stack of love bugs right here, right? These are my newest babies. Man,
I
should I
don't,
just go through them one at a time,
I,
or how
I
would you
don't,
do it?
I don't even know where to begin. Go ahead. You take them how you want, because there was a point in time where you said to your leaders,
Mhm.
I need a moment. I am
Mhm.
going through some stuff and I need to process it. And I have placed each of you in a role to lead.
Yeah,
And I'll be back.
yeah,
And when you came back, you was like, look what I did. And you had like what was it, 3, 4 journals? And you were like, oh, and they're getting ready to be released next week.
yeah.
What you mean? So tell
Yes.
us what you did.
So funny enough, it's actually seven. It's seven journals. I only released five of them now. The other two will be out around the same time as my memoir, which will be done very soon as well. We'll talk more about that later. But so her purpose revealed. That's this lovely lady right here. She's absolutely gorgeous. Y'all go get that. Full of content, insight. But I was um I was impacted by a reduction in force. And as a recovering perfectionist, my identity was wrapped up in my employment. It was wrapped up in my career. A lot of who I thought I was the way I showed up in the workforce. Um, and I always looked at my abilities and my talents and my gifts and my multiple degrees as the reason I'm as blessed as I am. And I think the season of life I was in, that was God's way of reminding me that provision it comes from the Lord. It don't matter who I work for, how much I know, how many degrees and credentials I've earned, my provision comes from God. And so it was an opportunity to shift my faith away from man and onto God. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know he was going to do me like that. I didn't know I was going to lose my position, but Thanos, y'all know who I call Thanos. He had signed an executive order, um, pretty much just launching a war on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I was caught up in that. And so, unfortunately, I was laid off in February. I've since gone back, but they called me back. But my point is, I went through that season of having to rebuild faith in who God is, in his ability to provide. I trusted him as a healer, right? That's the space I'm in. So I was acquainted with God as a healer. I knew him as a father. I was very sure of him as, a way maker and all the other things. But when it came to provider, I was like, God, I feel like you need me a little bit. Like I feel like you might need my help sometimes. And the Lord wanted to show me, absolutely not. I got this. And let me just show you how much. And so I was blessed with the gift of time. God gave me time something I had been wanting and desiring. There has been so much creativity in me and so many things I wanted to do, but I never had the time. I always had to work or travel for work. And then when I'm not working, I'm taking care of my daughters. And then when I'm not taking care of my daughters, I'm taking care of the diamonds. And when I wasn't taking care of the diamonds, I was helping a friend with something. I didn't have time to touch the things that were on the inside of me. And they were beginning to like burn a hole in my typing fingers. It was like, girl, get this stuff out. So literally, I prayed a couple of weeks, and Michelle, I don't know if she's on tonight, but Michelle and I were leading the prayer call that day, and I prayed and I said, God, there's so much in me. I don't want anything wasted. And 2 weeks later, it was like, hey, you're laid off. Thank you for your time. It's been fun. You can go. And so I had all the time in the world and I had mental clarity and I had rest. I was able to rest and reset. And all of that just kind of supports innovation. So next thing I know, I'm waking up early in the morning and I'm like, I have something to say today. And the magic happened. So,
Well, Um, I'm not sure if you're seeing it, but the ladies are here, and they said your title Savage stands for self-reflection, acceptance, vibrate higher, adjustment, gratitude, enjoy life, because it was Savage life. Okay, and
thank
Michelle said
you.
yes, she is here. They are not playing about you.
Thank y'all so much because I didn't even remember. That's crazy.
Listen,
Thank
I'm gonna jump off on the side for a minute. I'm always in awe of any singer or artist like these rappers to remember 20, 30 years worth of music. I'm with it. I'll be up there too and pointing the mic at the audience, be like, y'all know these lyrics better than I do.
girl. Listen, I'm at grown woman age where I can't remember a password I created yesterday. I'm like, what did I make that password? So yeah, I'm at that age. I'm at that
We
big age.
we ain't even gonna talk about that, putting in passwords. They tell you that's not the password. You gotta create a new password. Can't be any of the passwords that you previously used. You create a new password, be like, you can't use that password, you used it already. You just told me that
Right.
wasn't the
Two-step
password.
authentication and all the things. It's too much. It's just too much.
Oh.
Too much.
But let's keep going forward with this. With all of the projects that you've put out and
Mhm.
all of the people that you meet, because girl, you stay busy. You're at this event, this networking event, this pop-up shop, you making sure that Natima Sheree and her brands are getting known to the people out there.
Yeah.
What's the most shocking piece of feedback that you've received on the works that you have put out?
Oh man. Oh gosh, that's a good question. I think the most shocking piece of feedback that I get is one, people say that I need to do more in promoting myself in the books, right? So I get that a lot. You got to do better. You celebrate everybody, but you wrote in it too. Um, and I always get, why don't you have anything for the men? That is
Ooh.
the most consistent thing that I get from our gyms and gents is, Natima, we love how you helping women, but don't forget about us brothers. And to that feedback, I often follow up with the same line because it is truly from my heart. I am a proponent of staying in the lane that God graced you for. I'm not called to minister to men, not because I think it's inappropriate. There are a lot of women who serve men and they do it respectfully, platonically. There's no scandal. But I also
Mhm.
believe when it comes to serving men, you have to have something grand on the inside of you to lead grand things because men are just amazing. God created Adam first, right? And so I feel like their needs are different and I don't have what they need. However, I believe that God is going to send me a tall, bearded, wonderful thing that will be my husband one day, and he will be called to lead men in writing their story. So I would have to say that is not just the most shocking, but the most consistent feedback that I get from people after reading our stories and attending our events and watching our podcast. Is like, what about the brothers, Tima? And I'll say one more thing on when I get that feedback. Fellas, keep in mind the work that I'm doing on the women is going to benefit you directly and indirectly. So be patient because I'm doing the work that I'm called to do, but I guarantee you it's still going to help you and serve you in some way because your baby mamas will be easier to deal with, your wives, will tap into their feminine energy more frequently. Your daughters are going to be obedient women. So there's so much that I believe God is calling me to cultivate for women so that men can benefit, that men can be loved properly, they can be supported and respected, because we live in a generation, in a society that says men don't matter. Y'all are
Hmm.
optional. Y'all are here to take us on dates and pay for our meals. But I believe that men still have the power to lead. And if I can change the minds of women concerning that fact, I can help you. So I may not have
Okay.
space for you to write, but I do have space for you to get what you need from the women in your life. So yeah, that's how I would answer that. Not that anybody else
Okay.
did, just saying.
Listen. I got a couple of them in my circles too. Be like, when y'all gonna do something for the men's? And I'm sitting here, be like, why don't y'all partner with us? And because to me, asking a woman when is she going to do something for the men
Mhm.
is that it's like, what is the term? And I just was discussing this earlier. That silent work that they ask us to do within relationship. So
Yeah.
if within relationship there's all of this quiet work that gets done by
Yeah.
women,
Hmm.
for men to come to you and be like, well, what are you gonna do for the men? That's now the public silent work, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh wait, y'all want me to carry this too?
Right.
Brother, please.
Right.
My back's not that strong. But
Right.
I want to know that we are halfway through the show. We are at 6:30, and I know you have goodies and prizes. Do you
I
want to
do.
do one now,
Yes,
or do you want to
please.
hold it? Okay. So, the first prize we will give to the person who said they shared first after
Mhm.
I had said for them to go share. And I'm scrolling back up, and it looks like, so first of all, I want to point out that our first commenter tonight was Shell Mack, who at 1:53 via YouTube dropped some diamonds for you. All right. And Selmac also happens to be the first person to have responded. I shared. And so
Yes.
Selmac is the receiver of our first giveaway. So,
Yes, thank you. Oh, congratulations, Shell. So, Michelle, I am going to be sending you one of my new journals, the one entitled Tell Me Everything. This one will be for you. I like to refer to her as the paper therapist.
mm,
Funny enough, what prompted me to create this, and I created this journal on the plane on a delayed flight that sat on the runway for 5 hours. I sat and typed out this journal. Um, one of my diamond leaders and one of my diamonds, they're really close friends. I admire their connection and their friendship. And so I was in Fort Lauderdale being honored by them. They had this amazing event. Oh my gosh, culture and couture, so amazing. Honored so many like game changing, ceiling breaking, like trailblazing women. It was amazing to be in the room with these other women. And so at the end of the night, Mel and I are about to leave. Mel's going to drop me to my hotel and go home. And La Vie, shout out to La Vie, the voice. She's standing and talking with friends and family who were just, congratulating her on a successful event. And Mel wanted to say goodnight to her. And so she walks over. Mel calls her. I call her for Mel, rather. And I'm on the passenger side. She leans into the car and she looks Mel directly in the eyes and she goes, "What is it, love? Tell me everything." And something struck in me like, I love the safe space that she provides. Like, I'm your friend. Whatever you need to say to me, say it. Tell me. Don't just tell me something. Tell me a little. Tell me everything. And I thought about the millions of women who struggle with making friends, who struggle with going to therapy, who struggle with having a safe space to share and unload. They need somebody that's going to have that tell me everything energy. And so I wanted to create it. I wanted to give it to women in paper form until the Lord delivers it in person form. I wanted them to have it. And so it's really just a conversation with you in your journal. Is a lot of questions about your vision and your dreams and what scares you, what makes you happy, where does your joy come from, what cultivates safety for you and purpose for you and all of those things. And so yes, the two of them are the reason. their exchange and their friendship is what prompted my paper therapist, if you will, and tell me everything. So Michelle, I know you got a village. I know you got a tribe of women, but this is still useful because it is dedicated to reflections and revelations and emotional release. So I'll be sending this to you, and I hope you love it.
I think I need that one too. I'm listen. When I tell y'all my Amazon card and my card on the website be full,
Yeah,
but my pockets don't. Slow and steady. He gonna get them to me. He gonna get them to me.
and
So
will.
congratulations, Shell.
Yay.
Ooh, yes, yes. And so we do have, I think, one or two more that are giveaways that are coming up. And Shell says she would like to sow her gift to the next person. Oh my,
Aw.
you mean the next person who has shared behind you? Okay, so let me scroll back up, scroll back up, scroll back up. All right, let me see, let me see. Shit. You know what? So my heart was landing on this person and for a different reason, but the second person that had responded they shared was Miss Freeman, Miss Sky Freeman.
Yes, Sky. Hi, beautiful.
Leaning towards Sky because when Sky shared it, she put that highlight and shared it to everybody. So yes, Sky, do you accept this is your beautiful gift here?
Yes, congratulations.
So
I will
thank
get this to you, Sky. Just text me or um, write me your address in my messenger, and I will mail this out tomorrow. I can ship this tomorrow.
Okay. You know what? I realized that we were sitting here. I didn't create the banner with oh well, they're down on the on the page there with your social medias and where people can find you. So yes, on the screen there we got NatimaSheree.com. We got at Natima Sheree, done Natima Sheree. If you just put in her name in the Google, and Google gonna take you to where she is. So let's get back to this conversation, right? So you, my dear, are on multi levels when it comes down to this literary space, right? So first of all, you're an avid reader and lover of words, which you told us makes you a bibliophile, right?
Yeah.
You're a bibliophile, right? You are a lover of words, okay? Then you're an author. You're also like a mentor in a sense here, but then you also publish these books that the Diamonds are putting out. So when you are wearing all of these hats, right? You sit in, you're like, I'm a reader, I got to put it on. I'm the mentor. Now I got what is the gear that clicks so that your eyes and your brain interprets what's happening from that lens?
That's a good question. Wow.
Girl, I told you when you asked me to do this, I said, "Oh, I'm doing my."
I appreciate it. No, I love how thorough and thought provoking your questions are. So, I think it's really the lens in which I'm viewing the task in front of me. When I'm reading, my position and my posture is to absorb and ingest. When I am coaching and mentoring, my posture is to pour. And when I am publishing, my posture is purpose, right? And so when I'm operating in those different spaces, it's really just kind of taking a minute to get centered and grounded and figure out what exactly is the need in this moment and which of my gifts, which of my talents is going to kind of achieve whatever it is I'm trying to receive. I am a big proponent of reading. I think that, I forget who said it, I think it was James Baldwin, who said if you want to keep something from an African American, is just put it in a book, right? Just put it in a book, because we are not apt to reading. I am the person, I'm gonna read the whole contract before I sign it. I don't care that it's 72 pages. We gonna wait until I've read this, or at least skim through it thoroughly, before I commit my signature to something. And so reading has always been not only what protects me, but what prepares me, because you can't lie to me. I read too much for that. Like I was sitting in I'm trying to find a new church home. And so I was sitting in a Sunday service at a church I was visiting, and he pretty much quoted Proverbs 27:3, but gave credit to Shakespeare and not to Christ. And I said, wait a minute. And no one else in the room seemed bothered by it. I think I was the only person like, oh, that ain't right. Like, that's wrong. And I realized it's because you read so much, you absorb a lot, and you are going to be able to catch certain things. And so that's where the reader in me is like, no, I got to learn as much as I can. I have to consume and process as much as I can. And so it's really contingent on what's the need. Do I have to publish something? Because I don't just publish things, I pray over the publications. I submit them and surrender them for God to use for his glory. We don't just put them out on the market to make money. We're not profit driven, we're purpose driven. And so everything that we publish, when I'm in that space, I'm extremely prayerful and surrendered. And I'm like, Lord, this is your work. You will do it what you will. And so I'm, committing it back to you. And then no different than when I'm mentoring, like, Lord, what is the need of this person? What is the story she wants to tell? What is the work you've placed on the inside of her? How can I help to birth that? So I'm really just a literary midwife, to be honest. Like, these aren't my stories. I'm helping bring the baby out. I'm like, all right, I see the head, girl, push, right? I'm the girl. I'm the midwife rather, that's helping the girl to push that purpose out and push that dream out, and push that project out. And it's painful. It's extremely painful for them and for me. I'd be like, dang, she just kicked me. I'm here trying to serve her and I got kicked, right? Or I'm here trying to usher this gift out and this purpose out of her, and she swung on me because the pain is too great for her. And so that literally is a great depiction of the work that I do. Sometimes I get knocked by the person pushing because it's so painful. Sometimes healing the wound hurts more than the wound itself. Like the injury doesn't always hurt as bad as healing it does. And that's the hardest part of what I do. I don't know how I got there, because that was not the question you asked, but amen.
Even
We're gonna let the Lord lead.
so many bars and gems in it. I'm like, we gonna roll out with it. We gonna stick with it because us being who we are, we know that was the message that the Lord said for you to get out your mouth.
That's what he said, right?
Mistakes here. There's no mistakes. All right. Yeah. So I do want to ask you about something very specific and particular, and this is your style, right? When it comes time, you've had the conversation with the Lord, and the Lord said, you're going to do this, and you might have questioned him and said, are you sure? And he said, what did I say? And you say, yes, Father. What is your process like?
Yeah. Wow. So how transparent can I be, right? Because I don't want to ruin my witness. I don't want nobody discouraged, but how real can I be right now?
Pages. This is getting behind the words. I forgot what the little tagline I came up with, but yeah, you get as raw and authentic as you need to, because the people want to hear.
Thank you. So I would love to say, oh, my response is always obedience. Like, my response is always an immediate yes. Heck no. My response is always, why? For what? Is that necessary? Can you do it another way? Do I have to be the person? There's always resistance. I can't even lie about it. There has been a few things that I've heard God clearly say, Natima, do, and I've done immediately, like no delayed obedience, which is really still disobedience, but I would jump right on it if I heard God say it. But most of what I've been called to, it wasn't in alignment with what I saw for myself. And so there's still this like little girl in me that's like, this is unfair, like that pouting, like, I want to do what I wanted to do. And so my process is always literally conversing with God like a friend. Like, God, how serious is this need? And how serious is this need for me to obey? And what am I going to lose if I take the chance and say no, or just don't do it? I'm very honest. And although God doesn't always divulge everything, he don't always sit down and be like, if you don't do it, I'm taking this away. Or if you do it, I'll give. No, it's just, how much do you love me? How much do you love my people? And I think there are a lot of folks that claim to be called to ministry, marketplace ministry, church ministry, Bible man, I don't care, but they don't love people. And I don't understand how you can love a God who died for people, but you don't love the very people he died for. And I'm not saying love them to the point where you kicking it with everybody and everybody's in your sphere of influence or in your space. But I think the first thing I do is examine how much I love God. Like I love him so much, and nothing fulfills me more than knowing that I've pleased him. And so after I've gotten over myself, because I'm gonna have a moment with self, right? Everybody does. We're wrapped in flesh. We all selfish. After I have that moment, then I remind myself of how much I love God and how my desire is to please him above all things. After I've gotten past that, I sit still quietly and I listen for instruction and I start to write it out. I write out exactly what I hear, even when it sounds crazy, because a lot of times it does. It never sounds right. Like again, a free one here. If you hear something radical, you heard God say something and it sounds absolutely crazy to you, it's probably accurate. If it goes against, if it's counterculture, if it goes against the world system, if it's literally going to bring God glory and not yourself or anyone else, it is likely the right thing that you're hearing. Because I hear stuff and I'm like, the math on that don't sound right, God. Like, are you sure? And so that's the next thing I do is I just write out everything I've heard. Every detail of what I've heard. And then I pray about it. So not only did I already receive it and hear it, but now I'm going to receive or ask for confirmation. Just like Gilead. I don't know if y'all ever read the story of Gilead. He had the angel of the Lord just doing so much. He was so extra. Like make it rain only on this, but not nowhere else, and then I'm gonna believe you. Okay, and then now that you done that, do this too. That'd be me. I'd be like, all right, God, now that I believe this is what you told me to do, prove it. And so so after I've asked God for confirmation, once I get the confirmation, I just start going. And I talk myself into it versus allowing my negative self-talk to talk me out of it. I literally say, Natima, your obedience is better than sacrifice. God has called you for a time such as this. The work that is in you, he is faithful to see it to completion. Like I have to talk myself into walking in what God has called me to. Because if not, Tima from Queens will sit back and be like, girl, please, you ain't good enough to do this. Ain't no way the Lord wants you to do that. That's crazy. You're supposed to be outside. Don't be in the house doing this. So talking myself into it and then executing. And wow. Yeah, and that's it. That's my process.
Okay. So I see the comments coming in that people are engaging with us tonight. And I'm gonna let y'all know we're gonna do one more giveaway before the end of the show. Now I'm gonna do things a little bit differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want y'all to say I'm still here, right? Because I've been watching the numbers go up and down. I've seen people come in and out, and I know how the technology works. Sometimes you drop and you got to pick back up in and all that other stuff. So I want you to say I'm still here. All right. If you're still here with us, say I'm still here. All right. Because we can move into these next questions with the Queen Pen here. And I got a few more. Oh, I also want to say I'm going to task you with reframing that part. Like you said, you asked God, is he sure, right? And I want you to think of it because of what our professionalism is, working in people operations, human resources, all that other stuff. I want you to think of it as you were actively listening and you're asking for God to confirm that you heard his message correctly. Because I don't want you to think it's like you're questioning him in like the dog and pony show you were given with example that you were given with Gilead. But no, God, I heard you, but and not but or but and I heard you, but and this is how I interpreted it. Does it please you? So I want you to reframe it that way from now on. Okay.
Yes. I received that. Thank you.
So we're getting ready to go. All right. What was, and if it's more than one, by all means, but is there a pivotal piece of work that you've put out and it's like this was it. It's like that aha moment. You know, when we're on podcasts, I'll be like, oh, it was a Tiffany epiphany, right? What was that? You put it down and you said, that's it right there. This is it. It's life changing. It's changing my life. It's gonna change her life too.
Yeah.
If you could name one.
Ooh, honey. Okay, so in full honesty, I think she hasn't come out yet. I think my memoir is that book that's gonna have people like, oh, Natima not, oh, okay. Like I am completely naked in that book. I take everything off and I give my very best. However, if I had to choose a runner up, I would have to say, where's my baby? It is Heal Her. This is likely the one that I believe is the one that I think this is the one that's going to propel me forward as a writer, and as a creator. I think Heal Her is the one where people are going to be like, oh, okay. Like at first I thought Tima was just saying she's called to this. No, she's truly called to this. This work here started 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the midst of my own healing journey, which I'm still on, because our healing is a journey, not a destination. And so 2 years ago, the Lord woke me up at like 4 a.m. and he was like, you need to pray for yourself. And I'm like, me? You usually wake me up to pray for other people. And God was like, you need to pray for yourself. You need to heal her. And I'm like, who's her? Like, what? And the Lord's like, there's so much of you that you are suppressing and trying to build on top of, and it's going to collapse. And when it collapses, it's going to leave you in worse condition than you would have been had you just healed the foundation of who you are. And so I'm like, okay. Girl went right back to sleep, the good sleep, the drool up the face sleep. Like I was like, okay, God, went back to sleep. The very next day, he woke me up. It was like 4:17. I'll never forget, 4:17 in the morning. And the Holy Spirit was like, pray for yourself. You need to heal her. And I'm like, why we keep talking about this? Like, okay. So I began praying. And all of a sudden, I started to write down all the areas of me that were broken. I had financial trauma wounds that I hadn't healed. And this is why, even as a faithful tither and a cheerful giver, I was still living in the deficit. I was still living in debt. And I'm supposed to be the lender and not the borrower. And so I was like, dang, okay. And then I started to really pray for myself, and it uncovered like, I need to heal as a business owner. I am so afraid to be hurt and betrayed by people in business that I don't completely show up and give myself in all areas of entrepreneurship. I need to heal her. She has trust issues. Then I took a look at, my childhood, my ability to connect. Like it was so many areas that I thought I was thriving in, but I was really still surviving in. And so as I began to really focus on my holistic healing, I started writing things down to create this journal. And so it took me 2 years to complete her. But I think this work had to marinate for it to make sense. And I had to be on the other side of some of the work that I was called to do, so that when women start to ask the questions, I have the answers already. They're already here. This is biblically based. So it's biblically sound. It is faith based. All glory to God in here. Everything has a scripture reference. Everything in here points back to the Lord. Ain't none of this about me. It is truly about how God transformed me. Cultivating a social life. I was just working and surviving. I had no life. And the Lord was like, you got to heal that. You have to make time for her. She needs your time too. So Heal Her is probably the greatest work that I've done so far in my literary journey. And I'm really proud of her. But again, I think once that memoir comes out, she gonna be number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that all being said, the people were still saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And since we're doing things a little bit differently, we are going to gift your next giveaway to MSM, who is still here. They were the last person to say that I'm still here before the came in. They are tuning in on YouTube. So MSM, if you are still here, please type I accept in the chat, and then you're going to one of those platforms that Natima is on to converse with her so that you can get your gift.
This is your prize, MSM. Thank you so much for joining. This is all yours. I will be sending this to you. If you are a gem and not a gem, like if you are one of our gents, no worries. We will still send this to you and you can bless a woman in your life with it. But if you are, in fact, a woman, this is coming to you. I would love your feedback on this one. I mean, I would love everyone's feedback on all of them, but your feedback on this one, because this I would have to say is the nearest to my heart, because it really is my journey. It's outlines exactly how I've been doing my healing work. So I would
Oh,
love feedback on that one.
all right. So we're getting ready to wrap it up. I have about 5 or 6 rapid fire questions for you. No thinking.
Okay.
First thing that come to your mind. Ready?
Yes, ready.
Paper and pen or laptop?
Oh, paper and pen.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite book you've ever read?
Closer to Love by Vex King.
Favorite writer you'd like to have dinner with?
Oh, Gary John Bishop. Love him.
If I wasn't a writer, I'd be.
Oh, lost. I don't know.
That's
I'd
the
be lost.
first thing that comes out. And then the last one word that describes your writing style.
Transparent.
There we go. There we go. And yes, while you were doing rapid fire, Malika is MSM and she accepts your giveaway. All right.
Yay.
That's it for now. I want you to be able to tell the people what's going on, because see, y'all tuned in tonight not for Hustle and Shine. No, this is Behind the Pages, which will be hosted by Natima Sheree, the Queen Pen. I was just the guest host bringing her out so we could all get introduced. But please tell them what they're in tune for if they keep joining us on Sundays for Behind the Pages.
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge Michelle's comment. She is absolutely correct. Sorry, it was Gideon, not Gilead. The mixture, but I knew who I was talking about. I knew whose story it was. But yes, she did reference that correctly. My apologies for mixing up those two names in the Old Testament. But yeah, y'all still can go and read that and know what I'm talking about. But I am really excited about this independent project and work that I'm called to, which is called Behind the Pages. It is a space that will be cultivated specifically for independent BIPOC authors and writers and content creators. I really wanted to create a space where we got to celebrate them and hear their stories. There are so many podcasts and so many, TV networks that celebrities are interviewing celebrities. And I wanted to interview real stars, people who are impacting communities and ministries and schools and education systems with their literary work, who will maybe never see that notoriety and fame. I don't want to say that they won't, but may not as quickly or as soon. And I just want it to be a champion of those authors and provide a space that they get to come and share their stories, talk about their works, their passion behind it, what drives them, who they hope to reach. We have a lot of fun segments. It won't just be all serious talk about their literary projects, but we're going to have some things very similar to what Tiffany just did, the rapid fire questions. We're going to have a segment called I'd Write That. All different, like really fun, engaging things. Some of our interviews will be live here in Atlanta. Some will be virtual when my guests are not local. But it will be Sundays at 6:00. And I'm really, really excited about it.
All right, thank you. So with that all being said, you see where the Queen Pen can be reached via Instagram at Natima_Sheree, on Facebook, the.Natima Sheree. And then of course you can email her at info@natimasheree.com. If you are a literary, a poet, a writer, man, if you write rap lyrics, like whatever form of words you use, and you would like to be on the show, reach out to the Queen Pen. If you know somebody or you come across somebody's stuff, send it to her, because this is about us. This isn't about, the people who are on the New York Times bestseller. It's not about the people. It's about the people who are here with us in this journey. So there is a platform and a space for them to share their story and tell what happened behind the pages before the book went out. All right.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Queen Pen, for asking me to guest host today and introduce your new platform.
Thank you.
continue to fangirl over you. Love you,
Thank
Cuzzo.
you so much. I'm so glad that you did this for me. I really appreciate you. I could not have selected a better host for this. Y'all go ahead and drop some love in the comments and release some thumbs up and hearts for the Phoenix for doing an amazing job tonight. Thank you.
And a special thank you to all of our guests who tuned in. I'm going to just do like they used to do in Romper Room. I'm going to just call out some of y'all. We had Nancy and Shell and Scott, Daisha, Minister Tanya Owens. Hold up. There's a couple of different names up in here. Bernadette. Thank you. Kay Monet was in the. My mommy was here. Hi, mommy.
Hey, Auntie.
Thank you, Terrell Dillard, for joining us today. Joelle Bernard, thank you for joining us today. And remember to keep following the Queen Pen so that you know when the next episode of Behind the Pages will be up and going, so you can join the conversation. That's the other Tiffany, you know. We love y'all all. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. Bye.